Hello, my name is Danae Narvaza, and I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist here at Pelvic Health and Rehabilitation Center in Encinitas. Today, I'll be going over some hip mobility exercises that you can do to open your hips. Okay, so first I like to open up my hips by doing a nice butterfly stretch. So you're going to bring your feet together and then try to bring the knees down to the floor like such. You could even play around with different pelvic tilts where you're going forward with the pelvis and then tailbone towards the floor. So think lifting tailbone off of the floor, bringing tailbone towards the floor. Or you can just stay statically here. Also remembering to breathe and doing your pelvic drops on the inhale for an extra double whammy. Next, you're going to bring yourself forward like such, bringing the chest towards the ground. And again, breathing, inhale and exhale. As you exhale, see if you could bring yourself even lower to the ground. And again, chest going down like such. We're not hunching like this. Think of nice and tall and forward, like you're a beautiful ballerina. Or if you don't like a ballerina, if you know those birds with the beaks and they go into the water cups, think like that, nice and straight, just hinging from our hips. All right, next, let's go ahead and stretch our adductors even more. So what I'm gonna have you do is from that butterfly position, bring the other foot outward like such. You could have your foot flexed. I prefer pointed. If you have it flexed, it'll stretch a little bit more of the calf if that is what you desire. And then really think about bringing the back of your knee towards the floor. So for this one, we are stretching the hamstring out, but we are also stretching out your inner thigh adductors here. To get even more of the adductors, we're going to rotate our trunk to the opposite side that the stretched leg is going. You can hold yourself up here or keeping a nice and tall spine, hands on the floor and rotating like such. And again, for optimal static stretching, what we want to do is hold it for at least a minute. For the purpose of this video, we'll just go ahead and cut the time a bit. Okay, next to get even more of a QL stretch, that's the quadratus lumborum in the back. We're going to have the opposite hand go up and over. Pretend we're in a narrow alleyway and we're just gonna bring ourselves over to the side. I like this one because the QL muscle actually connects from the bottom of the rib cage over to the top of the pelvis. So you could imagine with its connections with the pelvic floor, this might inhibit or restrict some of that optimal length that we want with the pelvic floor. Okay, and then I'm going to have you go back up. I'm going to rotate the trunk over so that your nose is facing towards your toe. And then again, straight back. We're going to bring ourselves down as much as we can. And again, remembering to breathe. If you could bring your nose to your knee, even better. Really stretching that low back. The whole body is all interconnected with the pelvic floor. Okay, so next we're going to go back up and repeat on the other side. So, butterfly position, bringing out the right leg like so. If you want more of a calf stretch, you could flex the foot like such. For me, not so much. Hamstring, let's go ahead and think about pushing the knee, back of the knee, towards the floor. And then for the adductor, thinking about rotating the trunk in the opposite direction, propping yourself up with your hands and keeping a nice tall spine posture. You can also even think about if there's a string on the top of your head, if someone was pulling upward. So nice and tall. And again, just a reminder, holding these positions for a minute. But for the purpose of the video, I'm just gonna go through all of these a little bit quicker. And challenging yourself, seeing if you could rotate a bit further. Okay, now we're going into that QL stretch combo, bringing the hand over and reaching. So right now, I'm feeling it on this side of my low back. Remembering to breathe, inhaling and exhaling. When you exhale, you can see if you could challenge yourself in terms of range of motion by pushing it even further. Okay. So next we're gonna bring ourselves upright and we're gonna rotate. So nose towards the toe and then keeping back as flat as possible. We're going to bring ourselves down like such. And again, this will get even more of that low back. And remembering to breathe. So again, you should feel this in hamstring and over here. And even the inner groin area. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get into our hip rotating muscles. So I call these the windshield wipers. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna back myself up a bit. Have your feet out like this. You're gonna stay propped up here. You can use your fists or your hands to stay back here. And you're going to pretend your legs are like a windshield wiper, rotating it downward while keeping your hips or your sit bones attached to the floor. So based off your range of motion, you might have more than me, you might have less than me. That's okay. What matters is that you are starting today and putting in the work. You should not be in pain during any of these motions. It might be exertional, but if you're in pain, go ahead and discontinue or just modify your range of motion, and you don't need to go as far. And remembering to breathe. I'm just going back and forth. Okay. Another variation of this. So we're not completely in the butterfly position. It's more like a half butterfly, and then the other one is out to the side like such. So what you're gonna do is imagine there's a string on this foot here and someone is pulling it up into this external or internal rotation like such. So notice how my foot is slightly moving off of the floor. So again, everyone's range of motion is different. My hip rotation is quite limited. But before, like months ago, I was only going up maybe like a hair off of the floor. So now I'm able to move it up a little bit. You might even feel some cramping in the glute area or hip area. That is normal, but if you have a cramp and you need to stop, then go ahead and take a break if needed. So again, just lifting, lifting, and lifting. Okay. Another variation of this is you're gonna lay on your side and we're gonna do a reverse clamshell. So I'm gonna have you do is stack your knees on top of each other. Don't be rotated too far forward. Don't be rotated too far back. Hips are nice and stacked on top of each other. The top leg is going to rotate up like such. I don't know if you ever played with hacky sacks as a kid, but it's kind of like that hacky sack motion when you're kicking the hacky sack with the side of your foot. I personally wasn't coordinated as a kid, so I wasn't playing with a hacky sack, but you could imagine. Maybe that analogy works for you. Okay. Let's go ahead and try the other side. Swoop over on our sides, stack our hips on top of each other, not too far forward, not too far back, and same thing. And if you want to lay down, you could lay down, whatever is more comfortable. Alrighty, so next we're gonna work on our hip flexors as well as our rotating muscles. It's gonna be a double whammy. So what I'm gonna have you do is bring one foot out to the side like such. You're gonna bring the other foot out and straight like this. If you need to use yoga blocks for a modification, feel free to do so. So I'm just gonna rock back and forth like such. This one, you should be feeling your hip flexors being stretched on this back leg. And then to really get the hip flexors, I want you to think about tucking your tailbone. So think of your tailbone going downward like you are a sad dog. Okay, and then if you can, you're gonna go ahead and drop that back knee. Again, keeping your tailbone tucked underneath. You're gonna take this hand, you're gonna bend this, and you're going to rotate. So now you should feel this down your quad as well as those hip flexors. So after a while here, we're gonna release, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. But if you really want to open the rotating muscles here, you could bring yourself down on your knees and then think about pushing this knee outward. So it's like a more intense butterfly. Then we're going to go into a pigeon pose. So I'm going to press up like such. I'm going to walk this foot inward and down. And if you can, for that hip flexor, walk yourself up and push backwards. We're going to fold forward. So now we're working on that hip flexor, but then we're also working on the hip rotators on this leg here. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get ourselves out of here and switch over to the other side. So bending one leg, straightening the other, pushing downward, keeping the pelvic bone tucked. Tailbone, bone tucked. And you could rock back and forth. Really feeling it in that right hip flexor. We're gonna eventually drop our knee. We're gonna take this hand, bend here, and then gently pull closer to get more of that quad stretch. When you're ready to release, we're going to drop that. And we're going to drop our elbows down. Think about pushing this knee outward. And then ideally keeping this at a 90 degree, my bad. All right, let's press into that pigeon. So we're gonna walk our foot over to the other side and under us. And you're gonna slowly drop yourself down. And again, pressing yourself up like you have a tall spine. Pressing that straight leg into the mat, really getting that hip flexor. Then we're gonna fold forward. You might feel the stretch in your hip rotator muscles even more now. And staying here and remembering to breathe throughout all of these stretches. Okay. Go ahead and go up. Okay, so another hip stretch. We're gonna stretch the hip flexors even more. This is a half kneeling position. So we're gonna go here. Earlier I was talking about a pelvic tuck or pelvic tilt. And what I want you to do is think of a sad dog, if you were a dog with a tail, tucking that tailbone underneath. So we're tucking there. And so you should feel it in this back leg, down the quad, but also deep in that hip flexor. You can make it more dynamic by bringing arms up, back and forth, or going side to side. This isn't really a good angle, but I'm bringing my right arm overhead, then I'm bringing my left arm overhead. Or you could even do twists, like such, back and forth. And same thing on the other side. Tucking tailbone under, holding it there. You should already feel a stretch, but to make it even more, you could add movement with it. I'm putting my left arm up, my right arm up, and twisting side to side. Going forward with both arms. Choose your poison. Or just stay like this. That is also good. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed stretching with me. Stay tuned for some more educational exercise videos or just educational videos on our YouTube channel, or follow us on social media.